Alright, this is Healthcare Bill part number 51, and we're going to flowchart this healthcare bill so you can find out which abortions the government's going to pay for and which ones are not. If you'll remember from the last video from pages 50 and 51, we actually proved that the liberals were lying when they said that the government will never, ever, ever pay for an abortion. That's not true. We proved that. Now it's time to say to the conservatives, don't stand there and say that the government's going to pay for every single abortion, because that is also not true. Okay? So if the conservatives are going to bring a charge against the liberals about abortions, they need to bring the right charge, not just any charge. Now, you say, well, I'm seeing section 1323 over here, and that's on page 74. Okay. We have to go through section 1323 in order to find out which abortions the government is going to pay for. So that's why it's up on the screen. I'm now going to read from section 1303. Section 1303 has a little letter A at the beginning. It says special rules relating to coverage of abortion services. This is the start of the flow chart. Then under that A is a little number 1 that says voluntary choice of coverage of abortion services. And then they have a little A underneath that. Well, actually not a little A. They have a great big A underneath that says, in general, notwithstanding any other provisions of this title or any amendment made by this title and subject to subparagraphs C and D. Now, we are in subparagraph A. Okay. We have to now skip subparagraph B. We already talked about subparagraph B in the last video. Okay. Now we're going to go to subparagraph C. Prohibition on federal funds for abortion services and community health insurance option. Now, if you're wanting to look this up for yourself, just go back to page 51, find big letter C, and it says Prohibition on federal funds for abortion services and community health insurance option. And then it has a little number 1 underneath that. Well, not a number 1, but it has a little letter I. Determination by Secretary. The Secretary may not determine in accordance with subparagraph A2. Now, where is this A2? Now you have to jump from the great big letter C all the way back to the great big letter A. Okay, you have to go back from C back to A. This is where the flow charting begins. And you have to go to the little number, the double I. There's a single I and a double I under letter A. So now going back up, we see the issuer of a qualified health plan shall determine whether or not the plan provides coverage of services described in subparagraph B1 or B2 as part of such benefits for the plan year. Okay? So, it's not the Secretary of Health and Human Services that's going to determine who's going to get these abortions. It's actually going to be the guy who issues the qualified health plan. So the guy who issues the health plan will determine whether they pay for abortions or they don't. So the Secretary is not going to determine that. Okay? Now, let's go back to C1. Now, you're going to subparagraph C, and directly underneath it is a little letter I. It says, determination by Secretary. The Secretary may not determine in accordance with subparagraph A2, which we just read, that the community health insurance option established under section 1323 shall provide coverage of services described in subparagraph B1 as part of the benefits for the plan year unless the Secretary assures compliance with the requirement of paragraph 2, and I have yet to find paragraph 2, and hopefully one of these days I'll find it. Assures in accordance with applicable provisions of generally accepted accounting requirements, circulars on funds management of the Office of Management and Budget, and guidance on accounting of the Government Accountability Office that no federal funds are used for such coverage, and notwithstanding section 1323 EC1. Well, what is section 23 EC1? We're going to go ahead and cover that right now. We're now at section 1323. As you see, there is a little letter A up here. Now we got to go past letter A, and there's a letter B right there. Now we're going to hunt down would say that's letter there's the letter C. It's a startup fund. Okay, I'm going to keep going down. There's the D. Okay, I'm going to go down. Whoops, we lost it. There's G, there's F. Aha! There's E. We found E. This is going to be under the subsection Authority to Contract Terms of Contract. Okay, now we have to go to 1. There's the 1. We got to go to letter C. Well, there's A, there's B, and there's C. And limitation. Limitation says contracts under this subsection shall not involve the transfer of insurance risk to the contracting administrator. Go down here just a little bit more so you can see this. Alright? So that's what they were referring to in this capital Roman numeral 3. Notwithstanding section 1323 EC1, which is this one right here, contracts under this subsection shall not involve the transfer of insurance risk to the contracting administrator. Okay? So you have a contract, and there will not be a transfer of insurance risk to the administrator of the contract. Okay? And then it says, takes all necessary steps to assure that the United States does not bear the insurance risk for a community health insurance options coverage of services described in subparagraph B1. Okay, and of course B1 was the abortions for which public funding is prohibited. So the best I can get out of this is that the United States is not going to bear the insurance risk because this community health insurance option does not have an abortion coverage. So if anything goes wrong, then the United States is not responsible. That's what I'm getting out of this. Alright? You talk about flow charting there. Now we still haven't completely answered the question, but we're already on our way to starting to answer which abortions the government is going to pay for and which one is it not. Okay? But anyway, there's part of your answer. I know that's like back and forth and back and forth. If you want to find this whatever section that we were looking for, the section which is 1323E1C, okay, what you have to do is you have to go to page number 78. You're going to have to actually jump down to page number 78, and that's where you'll find that. Alright, in my next video we will continue my flow charting, and I will show you what's going to happen next. I will tell you more in a future video, so stay tuned.